This is an hour-long session, and this is a panel presentation and Q&A with 5 principals from the Family Friendly Learning Network. We are very fortunate to have a great panel of speakers, and I'm going to turn it over to Laura from the Pritchard Committee.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I'm Laura Beard. I'm the manager of family engagement at the Pritchard Committee. I'm standing in for Brooke Gill today, who is our director of family engagement. She's out sick. So we're excited. We have a group of folks who are going to talk about how they put the information that you may have heard in our previous session around our family friendly schools resources and network that we have. They're going to talk a little bit about how they've been utilizing that in their school. So just some background information for those who are new to this work. We are a Kentucky collaborative for families and schools made up of partners throughout our regions. In Northern Kentucky, it's Learning Grove. In the Jefferson County area, it is National Center for Families Learning and Partners for Education in Eastern Kentucky. Along with our partners at Kentucky Department of Education, we have been working to build a statewide family engagement center and work to build a dual capacity framework, building relationships between our communities, families, and schools. And so our focus is on increasing effective family engagement. And we are doing that through a revamp of a document called The Missing Piece to the Proficiency Puzzle, with some new resources that have been updated to talk about family engagement as it applies to federal law, and also resources to use as you complete a self-assessment and work toward. I'm sorry.
9822, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, somebody.
Yes, somebody's mic needs, is on and needs to be turned off.
Gotcha. I couldn't tell if somebody had a question. The resources and info are in the chat, but we have a new online resource that kind of lays out this application process to become a family-friendly school. And so the folks you're going to hear from today are utilizing those resources in their schools and working towards that certification. It was first introduced to this learning cohort of about 60 schools and early care centers as kind of a pilot to kind of go through the resources, help us to make them better and improve on what we had. And we're constantly updating. So we think about presentations like today as an opportunity to get feedback from participants on what you're seeing and what you're hearing. And we welcome all schools to look at the resources and think about applying for certification. It is now open to all schools. And I'm excited to hear from our learning network today. And so I may jump out of order depending on who we have on the call. Is Crystal on yet?
I'm here.
Crystal, I've got you listed to start with, so.
Yes.
And you should have sharing abilities and if you need to share anything.
All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Crystal Hawkins. I'm our Jefferson County Public School. I am our family engagement specialist. So I have the honor of supporting over 100,000 kids and families and schools. And, you know, I'm like Waldo, I just pop up everywhere. So I'm just happy to first just share a little bit of what we do and encourage everyone to hopefully get involved in the Family Friendly Schools Partnership. But first, I just want to speak to you from my position as a district administrator and just tell everybody that you're not alone and that I really just empathize with all that we are experiencing right now. Like, this is a very different time and many of us are very overwhelmed. We're very wore out. We are very reactive, and every day it's just a new day. Some days we're in the cafeteria. Some days we're on the, we're on the bus. Some days we are just doing all types of stuff that, we never thought we would. So I just want to empathize and let everybody know that you're not alone. So in saying that, Now more than ever, we really have to reimagine our family partners and our community partners and reimagine their expertise rather than us getting really fearful of everybody seeing how overwhelmed we are and just hoping it's going to go away. And we're just going to kind of act like this crazy time didn't happen. So, how do we do that when we cannot oversee one more person? Like, we already have all of these things we have to do. How do we reimagine and re-engage our family partners? My recommendation is first to go back. And so go back to your plan, what you said that you were going to do with with engaging your family partners and engaging your community partners. Go back to that plan. And if the plan had you as the person doing all of the things, I recommend expanding your plan to hopefully include some community partners and some people that have great expertise in your school. So here's how we're doing that with the Family Friendly Schools Partnership. We're using a wonderful self-assessment. And I recommend with your self-assessment that you just stick to something very small. Don't try to do all the things. So we're sticking to hopefully something very, very small that we want to change in our school, that we want to engage our family partners in, and create a goal around like, what is the thing that we want to see change? Now, once you've done that, you come up with, okay, so here's what we're going to do. So that's the thing that I say, always go back to. So if you've been in the cafeteria, if you've been the welding substitute teacher, and you're like, okay, where are we with everything? If you don't have a plan in place, you're going to go back and say, oh my gosh, where are we? So again, so for us, the plan has been an amazing way to kind of go back to and just pick up where we are. Another thing I want to just really stress is that because we're all in a reactive mode, we cannot wait for someone to remind us to engage our family partners or to use coaches or to have anyone help us out. We can't wait. If we don't stay on top of making sure that we're doing the things that we said we were going to do, we're engaging families, potentially reading at home, we're going to continue to be further behind where we were. So again, this is so important. It's such important work. We have coaches. I want to shout out Cindy Baumert on here with NCFL. They're a major vendor with us, with JCPS, because I know I can't do this work alone. And so again, my recommendation as a district leader, I know I only have a couple of minutes, but my recommendation as a district leader is A, don't do this alone. Go back to your plan. And if you look at your plan and you're the only person on the plan, can you please share the love? And secondly, or again, if you look at the plan and you're the only person on there, please add other people and then share your plan out so other people know what you're working on. Lastly, I have family leaders that I work with all the time and community partners that reach out and they always say, hey, Crystal, what can we do to help? We want to help in this way. We want to get involved. And unfortunately, sometimes because at schools, we're so reactive, we don't even know how to receive that help. So again, there are family partners out there, there are community partners out there that want to help us. We just have to be ready to welcome them in and have a plan. All right, so I think next up, I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with Jill Handley, who's an amazing principal here in JCPS, one of my favorite people, who is doing some amazing work as a busy principal and an amazing transformational leader in her building. So Jill, I think you're next.
Thank you, Crystal. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Handley. I am the proud principal of Kenwood Elementary. This is year 15 for me, and this wonderful, wonderful job here in JCPS. When we said 5 minutes, I was like, okay, what can we talk about in 5 minutes? So Crystal really, who is amazing. We couldn't do the work in JCPS without her. She is a true champion for family engagement. So I'm going to try to wrap it up quickly with, if you're like me, as a principal, then what we got ourselves into is we have a lot of things that we've been proud of over the years. with family engagement. We've done all kinds of things. Like I am the kind of person that's reading, listening, hearing about things. And then it's like, yes, let's try that. Let's try that. So in my 15-year tenure, I've done a lot of great things with family engagement. But what I call them now is like pop-up shop, pop-up family engagement. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And then the next year, it's not sustainable. Oh, let's do this one. So it's like grabbing on to the next great thing. And so as it turns out, this whole piece of the missing piece, which I laugh about, it was actually put out in 2007. This is the first year I've heard about it, but we actually did the self-assessment. And so like Crystal talked about, that really allowed us to take a step back because we know the importance of family engagement, right? We know that school is built upon that triangle piece, the school, the family, the student. And so if they don't do their part, but we've got to empower them to do their part. And so what we decided was we did the self-assessment, 5 components. And while we were doing some great things in each piece, we realized that even though we think that we've got great relationships with our families, which we do, looking at that self-assessment requires you to go a little bit deeper. So for us, we've kind of put ourselves on a 3-year plan around those 5 components. And this year we've been very intentional with the relationship and the communication. Now, again, I will say that we feel like we were doing some great things, but when we really go deeply with those components, that's what we felt like we needed to work on. And so if you've not done the self-assessment, definitely take that piece out. The other thing that we started, I believe, the year before COVID, so the 18-19 school year, here's the thing, you all know that we ask so much of our teachers, and yes, we want them to be engaged with families, but if your school's like my school, the teacher can't take on one more thing. I don't mean the surface level, hey, we've got a field trip coming up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, reaching out to little Madison who hasn't been engaged in NTI for a week and a half. Teachers can't do that when they've got 15 Madisons that can't do that. So, and we have a family resource coordinator who is wonderful. However, what we realized a couple of years ago was that we needed someone in the position to really take the lead on family engagement, because I've tried to do it, but as a principal, it's not my only gig. And so it drops. It's not sustainable. Counselors tried to do it, not our only gig. AP. So we've all tried to do it, but it's not been our full-time gig. So we needed someone who it was their full-time gig, but also through the lens of a teacher, right? Because our Friskies are classified people and they're amazing, but we needed someone who understood the needs through the lens of a teacher. So what we did, the one thing I'm sharing is that in 18-19, we decided to readjust our budget, and we created what we called a family. The first year we called it family liaison, but because we have such a large English as a second language population, many of our families didn't understand the word liaison, but we found that the word ambassador was a really great universal term. And so we created a position called family ambassador. Now it's really just a teacher position because family ambassador doesn't actually exist in JCPS as a position, but she has been able to take the lead on really championing the work with families, being the point person for our families. I see my time is coming up. So that sounds like a little thing, but I can tell you it has been a game changer. The first year that we did this was the 19 school year when we went into NTI. Our engagement, we were number 2 in the district as far as student engagement, and we couldn't have done that without the work of our family ambassador. And so she really leads all the work. So I kind of guide the work as the principal, but that is her full-time gig. So a certified person who that's their full-time gig to create a family partnership, and then she leads the committee for that. So I think my time is up, but do the assessment to guide your work. Put together a 2 to 3 year plan. Don't try to do it all. Like Crystal said, take a step back, go slow to get the big wins, and then look into finding someone who that is their main piece, because otherwise we all know that no matter how important we know family engagement is, it's going to take a sidestep when you think about, well, I've got to do RTI, I've got to do ARC meetings, I've got to do all these other things. It needs to be someone's main gig. And we have found that having a certified person who has been a teacher, they really understand that lens a lot better. Okay, I'm passing the baton to, I'm not sure who.
Thank you, Jill. This is Laura again. We actually had a question for you about the job description for family ambassador. Would that be something you would be able to share?
If we actually, like, I'll have to dig it up, to be honest with you, because what we did was we were really looking at where do we feel our gaps are at, because the truth of the matter is that we felt here's where it kind of came from, is that we were like, okay, our MTSS system is on lock. Our tier 1 instruction is on lock. We felt like we were doing everything we could possibly do while we had the students within our grasps. But it's like when they go home, sometimes it feels like it's being undone because families weren't equipped with what they needed to support that. So we felt like we couldn't work any harder within the school day. We needed to create systems and structures that would allow the parents to truly partner with us. So I will try to dig that up. I'm going to be honest with you. Ours just kind of emerged from what gaps do we have, and then that's what our person started doing. But there is no formal job description because the job doesn't really exist. It's something that we made up. So it's really just a teacher. Like if you were going to fund it, we just fund it as a teacher, but we call her that, and that's what our families see her as.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Jill, it's a Title I funded position, right?
Actually, we actually fund it through our general fund, but it could absolutely be a Title I funded position. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Our next folks are from North Washington Elementary. And so we have Alicia Kelly and Amanda Mattingly.
Hello, I'm Alicia Kelly, and I am the assistant principal for North Washington. And this is my first year in an administrator role. I'm actually coming off 13 years in the classroom as an elementary level teacher. So it's been an exciting change. But for our family engagement work, we wanted to go beyond what we were already doing. So we have our family night events, our parent-teacher conferences, things that we normally do every year. But when we looked at our self-assessment after we had completed that with our families, we really dug in and said, what little things are we not doing? It doesn't always have to be big and extravagant. It's just those little things that over time build healthy relationships and really engage our families. So one practice that we've started that I would highly recommend this year that's been super easy, but has given us tons of feedback and our parents have really engaged in is surveys. And when I say a survey, I know as a parent, I'm a mom of 2 kids. Sometimes we get these surveys and they're really lengthy and they use a lot of educational jargon. And even myself sometimes get in the middle of it. And I think, I don't have time for this. I've got to get supper going. There's just too much other stuff going on and it gets put aside. And so I don't feel like sometimes those give us the feedback that we need from our families. So we started creating really short, meaningful surveys. For example, for our mid-year, we sent home a letter to families and just told them that we really value their input and that we wanted some honest feedback from them. And on the other side was a short 7-question open-ended survey for them. And I've got some of the questions here we asked. Does your child seem to enjoy going to school this year? What are some things he or she shares that they like or don't like about school? Do you feel you have a good relationship with your child's teacher and the school staff? So we just asked some really honest questions about what we're doing. And then the parents had the option of putting their name on the paper or not. And I was really surprised at the amount of feedback we got, the number of responses, and just how honest parents were. And it really opened the door for them to feel like they could come to us. Since then, we've had parents reach out to teachers and also our school staff, office staff, to set up meetings and just say, hey, I wanted to talk about this. Because once we sent the survey home, they saw that we really wanted to hear what they had to say. And so it made some of them feel more comfortable to come to us. We also we had a few, snow days here, and we've had some NTI days for that. And so we sent home a survey after our first 2 NTI days. It was a quick 5 questions on Google. We sent it on Remind. And we got tons of responses overnight. When I came to almost 200 responses the next day, I was really shocked to see that many, took the time to fill that out, but it was short. It was easy. It included some multiple choice. It included a chance for open-ended response if they wanted to add any feedback. And we used that and the mid-year survey to meet with teachers as a PLC and discuss what steps we needed to do to change, what we were doing well, to give those teachers the motivation to keep going and make little tweaks to what we were already doing to let families know we are trying, taking their feedback and trying to make improvements. And that also goes back to just making sure if you don't have the foundation for communication, it's going to be hard to get that feedback. So we worked really hard at the beginning of the year to set up communication. Most of our parents really like Remind. It seems to be the number one way that they responded that they like to use communication with the school. So we made a great effort to make sure that every family is signed up on the Classroom Remind for Teachers. And that included, teachers telling us who wasn't on Remind. And then we made those phone calls home and said, is Remind a good option for you? Here's how it works. And then getting them set up. And if it wasn't a good option, then giving them an alternative way that we could communicate. So laying in that communication foundation so that you make sure parents are getting this information and are getting the chance to give feedback. Also, phone calls to new families. That was something else we did at the beginning to lay that groundwork. So our new families that had transferred in, we wanted to make sure we touched base with them personally, not just through a survey for their first communication with us. So reaching out to them via a phone call and just saying, how's it going at your new school? How do you like it here? Do you have any questions? Do you want to meet with any of us? What can we do to support you? So make sure you lay down the groundwork through good communication, set that up for success so that whenever you do ask for parent feedback, you have a way to communicate that with them and they'll be more open and receptive. But that has been something that's worked really well for us and has been super easy. We do have another survey lined up, ready to go out. So we're making them very frequent, but very short so that families know this isn't going to take me a long time, but they are going to use this feedback. So our next survey we're sending out is about open school hours. We have a lot of families who are lacking some of their basic needs, such as running water, washer and dryer that works in the home. So we are sending out a survey to see who needs what and see if there is an open school hours that they would be wanting to come in. We even thought about opening the library for families to come in and check out books. So we're trying to gauge what families need. We will send that one out as a Google form and as paper because we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to respond to that and sees that. So that's what we're doing at North Washington. I believe Mandy Sagersey is with us and she's going to share from Washington County High School. And I think you're on mute.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Miss Sakersey joined our team this past summer and our focus has been on family engagement. We're doing several things that we think are going to be successful. One of the things that we're doing is a family newsletter that is actually going out. Our teachers fill in a Google sheet and we send it home to the parents and it's called a commander update. And every teacher fills that out so that they know what their student is working on in real time in every single class, and it has every single teacher on it. So if there's a family that has multiple students, instead of getting multiple letters, it's all in one newsletter. We also include our calendar on it. There's lots of events that take place in high schools, and so that families are up to date on what's going on. We also attach a monthly calendar so that parents are up to date on what's happening in your child's school. Another thing that we're having our teachers do once a month is what we call our STAR contact. Oftentimes at the high school level, the only reason you reach out to a parent is for a behavior issue or they're having difficulty in a class. But our STAR contact that we do with our teachers is they pick one student each month. We keep it in a spreadsheet so we can track what students are being contacted. And it's a good contact. It's a positive contact. Hey, we're reaching out to you today because little Susie's doing this week, and I'm really proud of what she's doing, so that parents see that positive. It builds that relationship with that parent on the positive end, so that when you do have to call to make a contact on something else, you've already got that rapport with that parent on the positive side, and it helps with that. And then I'm going to let Ms. Sakersey talk about a couple of our other strategies.
Here. One thing that we wanted to point out, it's not necessarily sometimes be considered a family outreach or community outreach. Can you all hear me? Or I'll get a little closer. We do a weekly check and connect with our students. It's a quick survey Google form that we send out in first periods. And our teachers do it every first period on Monday. Our admin team gets together. our students essentially rate their mental health, because that is a huge component that we have noticed at our school, especially with the pandemic. That is an issue at home, at school. It's affecting everywhere with our kids. So essentially it is a family outreach because we are helping and supplying resources. We mark on there if they have food at home. If they don't, we meet with them. The mark they don't, we meet with them. We get with our FRISC coordinator and we provide the materials that they need, the food, what clothing, whatever that they need. We also reach out to our community partners with this as well. We have CommuniCare, which is the counseling services. So we make multiple referrals to that program. We have started this year an All Pro Dads chapter here at the high school, and they meet monthly in the mornings. They have like a breakfast. We just started this, so we had our second one last week. And dads come in. It can be grandparents, it could be uncles, it could be moms, anybody that is willing to come and just kind of have a conversation about how can I better serve my child. There's a topic, we have a guest speaker, we provide breakfast. You know, that, like I said, it's new to our building. We just started it, but it's been a really big success so far. I think last time we had 5 or 6 attend. So we're slowly building that process, but hopefully that's going to grow for us and become, because dads are sometimes not necessarily the ones that get that first phone call. And so to kind of make them important and show that they are important to their child's education is something that we wanted to strive for. We've also invited community speakers to come in. We have club day here at the high school once a month. And as part of the afternoon portion, we have had our clubs kind of take ownership and invite a community speaker in, and they come and talk about a value of the month. For the month of November, we had, I think it was giving back was kind of what we were talking about. So we had our county representative from Salvation Army come talk to our students. We had so many students sign up to be kettlebell ringers for the days and the weeks ahead. So it was awesome to get our students involved, and they also got families involved. And it was just a really good opportunity for our students and for our staff to even kind of see that. Another thing that we do with our PBIS team that has kind of brought in some family recognition through social media. And we also had a community donor that partnered with us to provide a donation for us to provide rewards for our students, and it's commander tickets. We have our teachers hand out tickets anytime they see a student doing something well. It can be academic, it can be socially, anything that they want to recognize a student for, big, small, whatever, they can hand out a commander ticket. Every Friday afternoon, we draw for commander tickets. We have some smaller prizes that are free tardies, go to lunch early, get into a ball game for free. And then due to our community sponsor, this past Friday, we handed out a pair of AirPods. So we have big prizes. We have about 2 prizes that are larger in scale that we hand out each month. And the response on social media from families has been awesome. So just those are some of the smaller things that we are doing here at the high school, reaching out to get, not only our families involved, but also our communities. I think high school is a little different because our students are about to be, they are adults, they're growing up, they're about to enter the world. So getting them in partnership with our community as well is a huge aspect that we've kind of taken on here at the high school to not only partner with families, but communities as well. Anything else you want to add? Sorry, I feel like I talked really, really fast.
And we're turning it over
to Miss Cherry Boyles from our district office.
Okay, thanks. So everybody's had an opportunity to hear from 2 of our 4 schools. And the fact is all 4 of our schools in Washington County are involved in this family engagement partnership, this family friendly schools network. And we've talked about North Washington focused on surveys. Washington County High School kind of talked about learning focused communication. For us, this all really started just like every other district in the country realized during the time of COVID when everything shifted online. that we had so many families that were really struggling in how to support their children and how to maintain a calm environment and learning environment at home and remotely. And so that really highlighted an issue for us in a way that we had certainly been addressing some components of family engagement, but not in the way that we are now. In addition to that realization, our Board of Education decided this is important enough that they are going to hold it as one of the priority areas for the superintendent. And so it became a district-wide focus. We all talked about it. Administrative team talked about ways of trying to be more focused in how to improve our family engagement. Fortunately, what we found was that there was an opportunity to use this survey from the family engagement part, the Family Friendly Partnership Network. And we were able to use the survey district-wide. NCFL has partnered with us. And so Cindy also is our coach. And Cindy came in and was able to work with each of our schools and provide kind of a ground foundational workshop, the training to give the information to our school teachers and all of our staff members around what family engagement really looks like. What are the components of it? We took the self-assessments across the district. Schools then formed their own family engagement teams. Each school had its own family engagement lead. Those leads and their partner administrators then work with me in a district family engagement team. And so we're able then to focus more district-wide and have these ongoing monthly district conversations about how to support the work that's happening across the schools as we work to really improve all of our areas of family engagement. You heard areas around community partnerships and advocacy and communication and relationship building. And it really does, all of those components work together to improve the learning for our students in our community. And we have been, our community has been very supportive of that. We have also, I'll kind of show it quickly, we did do a leadership study on powerful partnerships. So that book has helped us to form and formulate some of our ideas and our processes and how we address improving family engagement as a district team. Our school teams continue to meet regularly. Then those leads meet with me monthly. Cindy, as our coach, comes into those meetings. So we're able to stay structured. We do have a shared folder system where schools drop in and share their ideas and their resources with one another. So we'll have an elementary school comes up with an idea. The high school says, hey, this is how we can use it. And so they modify it and they're able to use it as well. So we've structured this district support network in order to help with family engagement. But then school teams really have their own cultures and climates. And so they're able to really implement the work more locally. So I see that I'm actually a minute over. So I will turn this over now. I think we have Kelly Abney from Menifee.
Thank you, Sherry. That's wonderful information that you shared. And Sherry kind of touched on, what I want Menifee Central. We're in a rural area. We're a K-8 facility. We have about 660 students. And like her and her team in Washington, we've seen that through the pandemic and this being a brand new facility that just merged two schools, that family engagement is like our number one thing that we had to work on as we merged the schools and as we were dealing with the pandemic. So when this was brought to me, I was a little overwhelmed at first, but when you dive into it and you see the work and the support this network offers, it's not nearly as scary. They're very clear in to pick something, work on that. We were able to establish a family engagement team. And again, I do have the support of the district, and I would love to see us become like what Washington County has and spread this through the entire district. So having systems in place, and it was really important to develop our team and to get all of our teams on board, including our site base. So one thing that we did, and I'll try to share my screen here in just a second, is we did develop a family-friendly space because for my school, we really wanted to focus on the relationships piece. The self-assessment is critical. I would recommend that any school, whether you're in the network or not, to take a look at this self-assessment because it's going to guide your work. My team has went through it twice now, and we're making adjustments, seeing where we can improve. And I will say we just had a family engagement team meeting, and my school is right there to 3. There's really a few things that we've got to tweak to make sure it's a solid 3 before we submit in March. But this assessment will drive your work. The modules are critical, easy to watch, not difficult at all. My parents love them. The parents that have reached out and joined this team with us, they've loved the modules and are bringing some real ideas to how we improve and move our school forward. So with all of that work, what we've also done is we've included it in our site-based council policies. I would recommend that you do look at your SBDM policies that you have on family engagement. we've already changed our wording to include the family-friendly networks definitions on family engagement and those 5 critical points. And I can share those with you guys as well. Another piece that we focused on is that we also wanted to include this in our CSIP. So I know everybody's already submitted their CSIP for this school year, but one thing that we put in with our, our free and reduced population, we have a very high free and reduced lunch population. And we wanted to put this in here to ensure that, I am a first-year principal. I plan to stay, but I wanted to make sure there's systems in place for this school that we continue our family engagement work in years to come. So we put it in, like I said, our site-based policy, and I've included this in the CSIP. And with the CSIP, we put the self-assessment tool as the, as the measure of our success. So I'm really excited about the work that we're doing here. I will attempt to share my screen. I will not say that I'm very good at this, but I will try. All right, can you guys see my screen? All right, so I'll try to zoom in here. And this is our family-friendly space. We still have some work to do. We know we want to add some feedback and data and get our mission and vision out there for everyone to see. But the other thing that we focused on, and I'll share that really quickly, is our family engagement policy. I'm going to scroll that right down here, changing our definitions here to the family-friendly network about communication, monitoring, supporting, guiding, and being an advocate for your child. That's what we want to put in there, not just that you're going to read with your child for 20 minutes, because this is how we see a deeper impact. So I really feel like this work is very necessary. I've included it in my professional growth goal for myself, because I feel like this is how we have the biggest impact right now in the conditions that we're in. And, it's evidence-based practice. The more that you have families involved, the better off everyone is going to be. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you so much to all of our presenters today. We did kind of go through that really quickly, but we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to share. We do have the documents. I see where folks are asking for the documents. The documents are in the grid. And so I think everything except for Kelly's picture that she showed, I was able to get everything else in there. So please take a look at that in the grid. I also popped a few of those in the chat to make them more handy for you. We have a few things we're going to do in the time that we have left. So this was an hour session, and we've devoted a significant amount of time to question and answers. The other thing is that folks in other sessions had a 10-minute break to switch between sessions, and we kept going. So we'll actually end at 11:30. So that way you can grab the tail end of another session, or spend that 10 minutes in your break before you join, I think, the lunch and learns. So as we transition to question and answer, I also want to do a shout out to folks on the call who are a part of our learning network, who may want to share instead of ask a question. So maybe you have something you want to share as well. But we really appreciate the time that folks who presented on our panel gave today. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough, and making it easy for me to kind of step in and facilitate. This was great information. I actually texted Brooke because she was asking me how things were going, and I was like, you would be so excited to hear the wonderful examples and stories and ways that people are using the resources. So we're going to open it up. Like I said, we'll do both. So you can ask questions of one another. And then you can also share if you're part of the learning network and you have some things that are happening in your area.
Laura, can I give a plug for the Digital Family Playbook too? Like, if you haven't checked that out, that is unbelievable. It's such a rabbit hole. I know myself and our team, literally for a whole day, I was stuck in the rabbit hole, because it's like everything great is in one location, everything linked. So I would just say if you are part of the, or if you're not part of the network, I don't know if you still have access, but that has been such an amazing resource for us, is that Playbook.
Thank you, Jill. We've actually heard that from several different groups. And so that's just good for us to know as we move forward with new resources. I think people like the fact that it's compact. It kind of reminds you of opening a booklet anyway. And so there's just some normalcy about that too, where folks who are transitioning between paper to digital copies of things, they feel like it's just easy to use. So I appreciate that.
I'll also plug this book. Sorry, give me this book right here, Engage Every Family by Dr. Constantino. It's amazing. I heard him speak probably, I think, 4 years ago, and he really started getting. That's when our whole transition took place. Is thinking outside of and it's really, even though he calls it something different, he actually references the missing piece from Kentucky in the book. So it really aligns nicely with the 5 components that we have with the assessment rubric as well, but has a lot of other great ideas.
Thank you.
And I'll just say that all of the resources that have been referenced, from the digital playbook to the self-assessment, they are all publicly available now on, it's in that, it's linked in the grid, and it's Pritchard / family engagement. Oh.
This is Jenny Hobson with Partners for Education. And if you liked what Kelly said about making the work sustainable through policies, the back part of that digital playbook has all sorts of resources for including your family engagement work in your Title I compact, and then you can kind of just tweak that into your CSIP.
I think that since we're talking so much about the digital playbook, I'm just going to pull it up for a minute. This is our landing page on our website. And so if you click on the playbook, let me make sure that you guys can see it because I might not have shared the screen. Can you see the digital playbook?
Yes.
Okay. And so you've got your tabs here that line up with the self-assessment. So I think that's, that's the beauty of it, is that it's compact, it's not taking up a lot of space somewhere. It's easy to just kind of start clicking through it. Like Jill said, you go into the rabbit hole, but that's how, many of us are getting our information now. And so we've been working on an Ed Options resource for parents, and kind of showed them some different resources that we have. And the parents overwhelmingly say, if you put something together like this, that would be great, so they could click in the different ages, and it would just be really helpful for them to have this all in one place.
I do have a question for Kelly. You mentioned the online modules, and that your families watch those. That's what when I was looking at the certification process, that was one thing I realized that we have not done yet and we need to do. Did your families just watch that at home on their own? Did you all have a family engagement meeting? How did you go about that?
Yes, I reached out to several parents, and I actually have 2 that sit on my family engagement team. So those are the 2 that have completed it, and they did do it all on their own time. And then we just have our set monthly meetings that they attend, and we reflect on those modules. But I would love to get these modules out to more families, just to let them see, this is the mission and vision of our schools, that we do get all of our families involved, and then kind of outline what we've been able to do to kind of secure that. But yeah, they've joined our family engagement team, and this is something, that I want to continue on, is that our school needs to have this established team that's separate from our SOC-based council, even though everything has kind of went through SOC-based council as well, but just to have this in place too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alicia, one of our other schools in Floyd County, they did do the modules with their families in their Frisk advisory board, and they did those live together as sort of a team building thing at the very beginning of the year. So it's really, speaking for myself as a family member, I would probably prefer to take the approach where I did it at home on my own time, because you can chunk them out into 15 minutes, but doing them as a group is an option if that's better for your school culture.
Thank you.
I might just add that there's been a lot of work that was done just trying to ensure alignment across the work. So the self-assessment is that all of those 5 areas are then reflected in the digital playbook. And also those are really pulled from the critical attributes of standard 8 in the of the professional standards for educational leaders.
I'd love to ask
And-
a question of our
Go ahead.
principals, if I can. Have you found, I was talking to a school yesterday that has one of the Striving Readers grants, and they're hoping to do some of their work together with the Striving Readers and Family Engagement. Have you found that there are partners in your schools that we might not be thinking about that you've worked with on this family engagement work?
So are you meaning like external partners or internal partners?
Both.
Okay, so one thing I'll say that we do in JCPS is we have a team called FACE, and it's actually, we have district leaders from a lot of different departments that come together monthly. What we found is we have so many people doing great work in silos. I don't know if anybody else sees that, but we have, you know, great work happening in special education, in our area to support families that don't speak English, and our families experiencing homelessness and foster care. And so we have so many different departments where they're working with families in the communities, but we weren't always talking to each other. So we come together monthly, and we also invite some of our community partners just to kind of learn what are you doing in your different departments, and then to see, can we streamline those resources to better serve different schools where we know there's a need, or we serve different areas. So we've seen a lot of, you know, just opportunities to just connect that way, opportunities to connect with community partners when we're helping families choose different schools, or we're helping them transition to different levels. Or we also noticed in our district, we have a lot of work to do with making sure we're translating items. So we've really worked a lot with our department that's responsible for translating items, but, you know, communicating to schools that it's not that department that's just responsible for that, but that we all need to be working together to do that. And then in addition to that, you know, we're doing things with, you know, from the reading perspective, working with Metro United Way. We, I don't know if anybody else has looked at, I think we're doing Louisville Growing Readers, where we wanted to get books in the homes of, you know, our kindergarten and our early childhood families. And so that came from a community partnership, recognizing that, hey, right now, especially with NTI, we need to make sure we have books in homes, but that can't be the last thing. Like, we have to figure out what's happening in the community, what's happening in the homes, to kind of pull those things together. So I will say that the work that we do is it's all encompassing, and it's simple and hard at the same time. And we sometimes think that other departments are doing the thing that is not being done, or we're not sure what they're doing. So I will say, for us, having a department team where we come together really, really helps. And then bringing community partners into that team helps too.
I'll second that concept about having the team, because for us, that has really been valuable to have that district team come together. In addition to the family engagement leads and school administrators, we also have our Title I coordinator, we have our Title III coordinator, we have family resource center folks in the group, and they're able to share, you know, work, they're able to share resources. That National Center for Families Learning is our strongest outside external partner. They coach us through the work, and having Cindy meet with us regularly is great, because she's able to talk to us about what's happening in other school districts. We hear often about Jefferson County, because I think Cindy partners with both of us. And so, you know, we always go, well, we're not Jefferson County, but, you know, we can think about work, you know, that might look that way when you have 1,700 students in your school system. But so we're able to get ideas from that way. But she also shares with us work that's going on in Ohio and other states across the country. And so it's been very helpful to have that external coach serve as a guide and really a feedback partner and a thinking partner with us. But I would say that having that team together, we went from, you mentioned striving readers. We went from striving readers to the comprehensive literacy grant, and that family engagement component, obviously it first caught our attention when we had these Board of Education conversations going on. I'm the chief academic officer. The superintendent and I were meeting to talk about what are we going to do to better support families in this time. And then this comprehensive literacy grant application came out that allowed for family engagement to be a component. And NCFL was even highlighted in that grant application as a strong partner for consideration. And so, it's sort of like all worlds came together. So we were able to pull all of these resources. But right now where we are is at a place where it's important for us to focus. Because, our most recent conversation around just a monthly update, family engagement, hey, what's going on discussion led into some concerns that we have about better supporting our EL families. And so, and then we started thinking about strategically, how do we align our services to better support these families? And, again, Cindy was able to kind of help us think about that and think about some resources. And so that outside partner for us has been really valuable. But two, just the thinking of all of these different people. Crystal mentioned silos, and if we're not careful, even small districts have silos. And in some cases, their silos are even stronger because everybody is working, a single person works in a program area and they become very isolated. And so having those ongoing conversations where you check in and you connect with each other and you share your ideas and share your resources and ask your questions, often we get caught up in sharing all these great things that we're doing. And so we have to pause and talk about, well, why are we doing these? What is the objective? What's the goal that we're actually trying to achieve? And it was really in that type of a conversation that the EL issue was highlighted for us. It was like, wait a minute, we've really got to think about this area of family engagement and what will we do? And so, I don't know if it's because of receiving comprehensive literacy funds or the ESSER money that's just out there in the world, but I see emails almost on a daily basis of some company or some vendor that wants to come in and sell us a product to fix family engagement. And I've actually had an email that called it that, fixing family engagement. And I thought, wow, they're really far removed from this work. So, just knowing that, buyers got to beware. You can't just fix it with some external anything, but to have the opportunity and the time and to devote the time to these discussions and to strategic planning and to getting the feedback from a coach and to sharing ideas with other school systems, it's been very helpful for us.
And if I can add to one major component that I always love to talk about and give props to are our parents. And so this is our first year doing Activate, and it is a parent fellowship program. And one of the reasons why I love this program so much is we intentionally wanted to bring in parent leaders, family leaders who had never been really engaged, who have barriers to language, who single parents that are experiencing a lot of hardships. And so we intentionally wanted to engage them as leaders. And so they're going through activating their leadership because they're already leaders, they're already experts. So our goal is to just establish, like, what are some things you really want to change in our community? Because I know, we see Facebook, we see social media, and our parents will tell us all the different things that they want to see on, change in our schools. But if we give them a space to actually be part of that positive change, there's so many amazing things that can come out of it. So this year, we're engaging family leaders to, really learn about our district, learn about our city, and identify what are some things they want to change as part of our district. So I'm really proud of that. I think it fits in perfectly with when schools are kind of doing the self-assessment. So I just want to kind of shout out to our family leaders that are working hard, that are doing all the things, and they're still taking time to help us improve our district.
So I just wanted to add, thank you, Crystal, for that and mentioning, that we really value families, family leaders, folks who have helped us put together these resources. We've hosted several focus groups with families to make sure that we were also aligning to what makes sense for them, what they're seeing as even engagement barriers and some strategies around that. And so just kind of building on that, thinking about if you're doing family engagement really well, recruitment for a lot of your leadership positions gets easier, right? So you have people who feel confident. We're really talking about building confidence in some of our families to lead and serve on decision-making teams and roles. And I think it's great, the pipeline we're kind of creating for families through engagement opportunities. And kind of building on this idea of like the parent ambassador, so the local efforts to engage families and families who have not been engaged before. I think a lot of schools are used to like the same group of parents, right, volunteering and doing and stepping up and doing leadership in their school, but then we've got families who really have never been given the opportunity, or nobody's kind of extended the invitation. And so thinking about activating that way that they're engaging parents who might not normally have engaged in those leadership opportunities. And then at kind of our state level with the Pritchard Committee, we've had over 20 years of building parent leaders through the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership. So kind of weaving in what's like a next step, how can you serve in that way? And so we have a fellowship tailored to that. So just kind of thinking about, as you're building your family engagement work, that you're also building your parent leaders and your parents who are going to serve on your SPDMs and school boards and things like that. I also want to put a plug in before we end on our What's Working Wednesdays that will be happening, are open to not just folks in the Learning Network, but the general public. So we're going to host those the second Wednesday of every month. I'll put the link to register, but we've had a lot of schools like talk to us about really focusing on evidence-based practices, and we're going to highlight evidence-based practices on those What's Working Wednesdays. So our first one is going to be on February the 9th. And then also, I'm also going to put a plug in for recruitment for our advisory council. So our Kentucky Collaborative is made up of the regional partners that you see here. And we also want to really establish a 51% parent representation on our advisory council, which we have that on paper, but to get folks, to be able to attend our meetings has been challenging, even for our community organizations and educators, especially because a lot of times we're hosting them at times that just don't work. So we're looking at all of those details, some of the barriers that are created. But if you have educators who you'd like to send our way, we could really work on recruiting educators. I think for our advisory council, that's a voice that we're missing. We kind of get that in our focus groups that we host, but we'd like to see a more consistent group of folks joining our advisory council that are educators. So just thinking about recruitment for educators and families as we move forward. Grace, I assume you probably stuck that in there for What's Working Wednesday.
Yeah, it's for What's Working Wednesday. Someone messaged me saying there was an issue with the bit.ly link.
Okay.
So I went ahead and put this one in.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have 2 minutes left, so feel free to stay on or go ahead and take your much needed break. We've been going for an hour now, so.
So thank you for all the speaker in this panel for sharing all their expertise and all those wonderful resources. Really appreciate it. This was an absolutely great session. Our next session is at 11:50. But we still have about 2 minutes left in this session if you have any questions.